On the whole, we imagine acting to be a fun job, in spite of the fact that it can require a lot of time and dedication on the part of the actors themselves. However, some performers are so dedicated to their jobs that the roles they take can end up having some pretty serious effects on their minds and in their bodies. Daniel Day-Lewis is a prime example of a man who goes the extra mile, at a risk of his own mental health and physical health with every role he takes. He broke 2 ribs in my left foot and lived in the wilderness to prepare for the last of the Mohicans, for example. But we could fill a whole video with examples of him, so let's just give him the mention he deserves before we move on to the list itself. So whether it's because of the preparation for the roles or the things they had to do filming certain scenes, here are 10 movie roles that nearly drove actors insane. Natalie Portman as Nina Sayers in Black Swan. When you think of method acting and going to extremes to give performances of a lifetime, Natalie Portman probably isn't one of the first names who springs to mind. But this might just change your opinion of her. Portman is definitely more prepared to go the extra mile for her film roles. For example, in order to play the ballerina Nina Sayers in the 2010 movie Black Swan, the Israeli-born star undertook a grueling daily regime which included 5 hours of ballet, swimming, and cross-training. That's enough to send anyone crazy. Even more impressively, however, was that all of that was undertaken while Portman was on a daily diet consisting of just 1,200 calories. That's around half of the recommended daily intake. Ugh. Ashton Kutcher as Steve Jobs in Jobs. When critics think of method actors, Ashton Kutcher isn't someone who comes to mind. Heck, the harshest of critics barely consider him an actor at all. However, for his role as the late Steve Jobs in 2013's Jobs, Kutcher took things to the extreme. He went on a fruit-only diet, just like the real Steve Jobs used to do. As a result, 2 days before the filming of the movie began, Kutcher ended up in the hospital with severe vitamin deficiencies and a reduction in bone density. The body requires a whole lot more than just fruit to function, both physically and mentally. So Ashton Kutcher is lucky that, ultimately, he came away from the experience unscathed. The entire cast in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Here, we're not just focusing on one actor, we're focusing on an entire cast. In this case, the cast of the brilliant One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest. The whole film is, of course, based inside a psychiatric ward of a mental asylum. During the shoot, the whole cast risked going crazy by staying in a real mental asylum to get the feel of it. Danny DeVito made an imaginary friend during the filming to make his character as real as possible. Sidney Lassick suffered from a mental breakdown during the filming of the last scene, and Fletcher, who famously played Nurse Ratched, stripped off her clothes and went nude in front of the cast and crew to assure them that she was in fact a real woman. It's kind of a miracle they didn't all actually go crazy forever. Anne Hathaway as Fantine in Les Miserables. I dreamed a dream that Anne Hathaway was an actress that you thought of when you thought of method actors, but she isn't. But what you don't know is she quite literally became obsessed with her role of Fantine in 2012's Les Miserables. Hathaway dropped nearly 10 kilos in weight and ate nothing but oatmeal paste for weeks. She even shaved her head, and because of that fact, her character went through a lot of hardships. Anne Hathaway's self-inflicted sharing of such experiences made her admit that she was physically and psychologically deprived by the end of it all. After she was done with her role, she said that it took her weeks of spending time with her partner Adam Schulman to feel normal again. Choi Min-sik as DAE-SU in Oldboy. You may not have heard of Min-sik Choi, but he's a South Korean actor who is extremely dedicated to his work, and a prime example came in 2003's brilliant Oldboy. Choi played DAE-SU, a man in prison for 15 years who, once released, exacts revenge on his captors. His character counted off the years spent in prison by burning flesh off with a hot wire. Choi actually burned himself repeatedly for real in order to mimic this. Moreover, upon his release from prison, his character goes to a restaurant and asks for something to eat that's alive. He's brought a living octopus, which Choi ate for real in several takes. Choi's a committed Buddhist, so this was torture for him. Christian Bale as TREVOR REZNIK in The Machinist. Christian Bale is a man who takes his work very seriously. You only have to look as far as his rant at a crew member who dared to walk on the set of Terminator Salvation, but he took his dedication for the role of Machinist in The Machinist to a dangerous level. Bale dropped a whopping 63 pounds for the role, and it wasn't even at the request of the director. To do so, his diet consisted of just 1 can of tuna and 1 apple per day. He reached 120 pounds, and it's rumored that he wanted to go further, but producers warned him against it, fearing it would cause serious long-lasting damage to his health, both physically and mentally. What's even more remarkable is that he put on 99 pounds for his next role in Batman Begins. Nicolas Cage as Johnny Blaze in Ghost Rider. Nicolas Cage is quite famously a bit of a weird bastard, but on the set of 2007's Ghost Rider, the actor took his craziness a little bit too far. Cage portrayed Johnny Blaze, aka the titular Ghost Rider in the movie, and he really got into character for the role. Even though Ghost Rider's face is completely CGI in the movie when he's in his flaming skull form, that didn't stop Cage from using makeup on his face so that he looked like a corpse. He also carried Egyptian symbols with him to invoke ghosts and spirits, all of which was based on an ancient African acting technique called nouveau shamanic. Such was the extent of his behavior that his co-stars were literally terrified of him. He also refused to speak to any of them between scenes, which made things even creepier. So did all this turn Cage insane? Well, we think he already was. Val Kilmer as Jim Morrison in The Doors. Val Kilmer is probably best known for arguably being the worst Batman ever. But when he was cast to play Jim Morrison in the 1991 film The Doors, he wanted to make sure his performance was as authentic as possible, and went to some serious extremes to do so. He learned no less than 50 of Morrison's songs and incessantly badgered the movie's music producer, Paul Rothchild, who knew Morrison personally, to tell him how the singer would behave in any given innocuous situation, such as how Morrison would have responded to a waiter at dinner. Kilmer even had everyone on set referring to him as Jim, because by the time he was done preparing for the role, he appeared to believe he really was Morrison, which is a surefire sign that the role was driving him mad. Jared Leto as the Joker in Suicide Squad. The Joker is obviously an extremely crazy character, and Heath Ledger wasn't the only actor to teeter on the brink of insanity while playing him. Jared Leto did so as well. When he was playing the character in 2016's DC Extended Universe movie, Suicide Squad, Leto sent castmates a plethora of extremely weird gifts. He sent Margot Robbie some creepy love letters and a dead rat, and he sent Will Smith and Viola Davis bullets, accompanied by strange feathers. He also sent the whole cast a video of himself with a dead pig, and some even received used condoms from him, all of which would indicate the guy went a little mad. It was for these reasons that a therapist was brought onto the movie set. Leto was scaring the hell out of everyone with his behavior. Heath Ledger as the Joker in The Dark Knight. The late Heath Ledger went to extreme lengths to get into character to play the Joker in 2008's The Dark Knight, a role that earned him a posthumous Oscar, but it was extremely detrimental to his health. Some people even controversially suggest that it only contributed to his death. Ledger locked himself in a hotel room for a month and barely slept, and he kept a very creepy journal while he was locked away. When shooting commenced, Ledger said he slept an average of just 2 hours a night while playing the Joker. His body was exhausted and his mind was obviously affected by the whole thing too. By the time he started his next movie, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, he was suffering from chronic insomnia, pneumonia, and exhaustion, and he died by intoxication from prescription drugs soon after. So, would playing these roles have driven you to the brink of madness? Can you think of any other roles that drove actors insane? Leave a comment and let us know. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up and check out the rest of our channel. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to CBR for more fun videos like this one.